Okay, Shalom Israel. Welcome to another episode of GMS Healthy Chef. This actually is going to be a lesson in cooking based off of St. John chapter 6, verse 5 through 12. We're going to basically use the remnants of the last meal we cooked to cook some chicken and sausage gumbo on a bed of couscous that I had cooked from the last meal. And this is a lesson basically in preserving your food, and that helps you save money and hopefully will get you going. Now we're going to use a couple of plum tomatoes, or they call them Roma tomatoes, and I'm going to show you how to make the tomato paste that I mentioned before. We're going to sharpen the knife. Remember, a sharp knife is a safe knife. The sharper the knife is, the safer that it is. We're going to cut the ends of the tomato, and we're going to cut both ends of the tomato. Then what we're going to do is cut side down. We're going to cut those in half, and then cut those into some squares. Don't need to really cut them up fine or take the seeds out of them, because we're going to put them into the food processor that you see right there on the bottom left of the screen. Take that, and we're going to throw that into the food processor. Get that in there, cover that up. Throw a little bit of a pinch of salt in there. The salt, what that's going to do is actually draw a little bit of the water out of there. Cover that up. We're going to poach that until it gets to a nice consistency, as you can see there. And as it gets to a nice consistency, we're going to take it out and we're going to put that into a saute pan. Now, we're going to turn the heat up. Pour that into the saute pan. Pour it into the saute pan. Move it all around. Get it nice and consistent. Turn it down because we don't want it the heat real high because it'll burn. We just want to make sure that we get the heat up to a high amount. Stir it up, and what's going to happen is as we work that, it's going to simmer. Keep simmering it. And the reason that we're simmering that is that we're getting all of the water out of it. Now, don't worry about the color. The color seems a little pink right now, but that's because there's a lot of water in it. As you see, the water keeps reducing down, and we're going to keep reducing that down until much of that water is out of there, and it gets down to a pasty, nice red, consistency. Keep stirring it, keep watching it. Make sure that you're watching it. The number one rule of food is to keep watching your food. Okay, if you don't watch your food, then you're being negligent, and you're probably gonna come out with some nasty ass food. So keep watching. All right. Like I said, keep stirring it around. It should, you might get a little bits and pieces in there, but it should paste up just like that. Make sure that you use a wooden spoon. You don't want to use no metal. Take that off. It should look a little something like that. The metal is going to scratch the pan. You take that. I'm going to take a ramekin. That's what you call a ramekin. And put that in there. And we're going to include that into the gumbo. Now, remember the lamb merguez that I cooked from the previous show? I didn't eat all of it, so I want to use it because I don't want to waste it. And that's pursuant to the lesson that I'm giving. So we're going to just cut the ends off of that and, take the wrap off. And what I did, y'all didn't see this, but what I did is I went ahead and I smoked those on the grill with indirect heat. And then of course I went ahead and, of course you're going to wipe off your grill. Make sure you keep everything clean. I'm going to take that to the grill, like I said, and smoke it with indirect heat. You ain't got to do all that. Now we're going to cut our onion up. I'm going to show you how to cut an onion. Resharp my onion up. I chop that halfway through the root. Keep the root on there. You don't want to leave the root, but you do want to cut off the stem part. Then you want to take off maybe the first to second layer of the onion. We're going to cut towards the root on the lines of the onion, towards the root, not to the root. You don't want to cut all the way through the root. Make sure you watch your hands. You cut in there, not diagonally, horizontally, and then you just chop it. You're going to do that to both sides of the onion. Both sides of the onion. Get a nice chop on that, and that makes it very easy. That's how you chop an onion. Makes it very easy. Now we're going to show you how to chop the bell pepper. I rolled that up like that to loosen the seeds. Makes it a lot easier. We're going to cut the bottom of the bell pepper, cut the top of the bell pepper. We remove that core, and then what we do is then we just basically slide the knife long ways against the ribs of the bell pepper. And as we do that, that makes it very easy to cut. Cut it in half, cut it in long slivers. And what we'll do with those long slivers is we'll take those to the other side and we'll just chop those up. This is a very quick way to chop bell peppers. And we'll do that to the other half of the bell pepper. I didn't just have one bell pepper, so we did that to another bell pepper. But that's how easy it is, very easy to do. Now what we're going to do, you can't really have gumbo without okra. A lot of people don't like okra, especially y'all brothers up north. That's mainly a southern deal. So if you don't like okra, then you're going to have to basically thicken the gumbo with more of a roux, which I'm not really doing a roux. I'm doing a backwards roux, which a lot of New Orleans get mad at me at what I'm about to do, but I think it actually enhances the dish. So you chop your okra up just like that. Okay, put that to the side. It's going to help actually thicken the gumbo up. All right. Now we're going to take out one of my favorite tools, which is the mortar and pestle. And we're going to put our spices in there. We're going to put about a tablespoon of garlic powder, about the same of onion powder. We're going to put about half a teaspoon of coriander seed, half a tablespoon of oregano, about a tablespoon of mixed whole peppercorn, a tablespoon of mustard seed, a tablespoon of celery seed, a tablespoon of dried thyme. We're going to put a tablespoon of dried parsley in there. We're going to put a tablespoon of cayenne. And we're going to put about, I think, 2 tablespoons of paprika. Now, the paprika is going to add color to it. And then we're going to add about a tablespoon of kosher sea salt. And we're just going to grind that in there. Remember what I said last show? Don't be afraid to get some elbow grease in there. We want to get that down to a nice powder. Okay? It gets messy in the kitchen, so I put a little paper towel under there. That's how it gets sometimes. That's just the nature of the beast in the kitchen. And if you don't want to do that, you can use a coffee grinder, and that coffee grinder can do pretty much the same thing. But cooking is therapeutic for me, so I like to do that. Now we're going to season our flour that we're going to put the chicken in with that spice spicing that I grinded up in the mortar and pestle. So you just want to mix it up, get it nice and mixed up. Like I said, it gets dirty in the kitchen. And you know, I put I didn't show you the process, but I put pretty much inch chopped you know, boneless chicken thighs, boneless skinless chicken thighs in that, and I dredged it, you know, got it nice and coated in that seasoned flour. It's about 3 boneless chicken thighs, boneless and skinless chicken thighs. We're going to heat up a skillet. Make sure that it gets nice and hot before we put the oil in there, because we want to get the oil to a nice nice smoking point. I use grapeseed oil because it has a high smoking point. And before I put in there the chicken, I browned the sausage. Okay, and that sausage actually is going to give a little bit more flavor to the chicken that I put in there when I put grapeseed oil in there. Go ahead and flip those, saute them up a little bit. We're going to flip them, get them nice and brown. That's going to seal in the flavor, and it's going to make sure that the sausage is not going to break down in the gumbo when we cook the gumbo. Now normally you would use like an andouille sausage, but you know what, you can use any sausage, so I just used the leftover sausage. Now I have the oil left over, so I'm going to put a little bit more grapeseed oil in there because it has a high cooking point. I want the heat to be hot because I'm not going to cook the chicken all the way. We're just going to cook it until you know, it gets nice and brown. Don't worry about that dark color you see there. That's mainly from the spices in the flour. Now I did this in 3 batches. You know, just turned it, because it was hot, it was very quick, so I could get the crust nice and good on that. That's going to help with, basically what I'm doing is I'm making a faux roux. Now a lot of people from New Orleans, like I said, are going to be mad at me because I should have made, you know, a long roux. But this actually it worked out. It looks like it's burnt, but it's not. It really is just the flavor and the seasons. Now we're gonna saute our okra. The okra is basically you want to make sure that you saute it, because if you don't saute it, it'll be too gooey in the gumbo. All right, now we're gonna take that roux, that faux roux, and we're gonna put that in there because it's got a lot of oil and a lot of those drippings from the chicken and the flour. And we're gonna put our onion in there. We're gonna put that at medium-high heat. Make sure that gets nice and softened up. And you don't want to burn it. You just want to make sure it gets nice and softened up. We're gonna throw some celery in there. All right. We're gonna throw those bell peppers that I had in there. I didn't show you me chopping up the yellow bell peppers, but I did chop up some. We're gonna just basically sweat those out, get a nice color on them. And then we're gonna take that tomato paste that we had made prior and mix that in there as well. Now you don't want to burn that either. You just want to get, you know, just nice and mingled in there. Now I mixed the chicken and the sausage in there at this point. We're just gonna mix that in there and get all those flavors and aromatics into the chicken. And this is all happening at a fast rate because pretty much most of the stuff has already been cooked. We're gonna do about 2 cups of chicken stock. I like chicken stock for this because it renders down very nice. But because it has intense flavor with the sausage and the chicken, we're gonna stir that up And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover it. And of course, as you can see here, make sure that you use a wooden spoon, man. You don't want to use metal. But we're gonna cover it with distilled water because the flavors are already intense. There's already plenty of salt. You don't want to, you definitely don't want to have it over salty. Stir it up. Make sure that it's, nice and mixed up. Make sure that all of the vegetables that were in there were not overcooked. Throw in a pinch of salt just for seasoning, and you do that to taste. Y'all didn't see it, but I tasted it prior just to make sure that it tasted good. I'm gonna throw some habaneros in there, some Scotch bonnets as they call them in Jamaica. I had a green one and a orange one. The green one, of course, obviously is gonna be less intense, but basically what that's gonna do, because I didn't cut them, it's gonna add a little bit of heat, but it's not gonna add a lot of heat. And then you want to bring that up to a boil and then bring it down to a simmer and keep stirring that. Now I took the Scotch bonnets out, or the habaneros out, because that pretty much already had enough heat with the cayenne. Now at this point I'm going to bring in the okra. The okra is cooked. Now that okra is going to actually help to thicken the gumbo. And what you'll notice is as it continues to cook, you notice that line on the pot. That means it's reducing, and as you notice, as it continues to cook, the chicken will begin to shred a little bit, which is what you want. That's what you want with chicken and sausage gumbo. Now I had the couscous from the prior thing that I cooked previously in the previous lesson. So I just used that, and I just poured the simmered down gumbo on top of that, which I had cooked down or reduced or simmered down for about an hour. Then I chopped up some spring onion or green onion, diagonally, and just to make it look a little pretty for y'all. And there you have it. You have leftover chicken and sausage gumbo. It was delicious, by the way. Now what I did was the remaining portion I put in a plastic bag, because what I intend to do is bring that up to the brothers so they can experience this. And I'm going to put that in the freezer. I squeezed out all of the air in the plastic bag, in the Ziploc bag. Basically what you do is you squeeze it, get all that air out. What I really need is a vacuum bag processor, but whatever. And I put that into the freezer, and I'm going to bring that up to the brothers probably, I don't know, next week, this week, who knows, I don't know, but it'll be in the freezer, so it'll keep maybe for about a few weeks. And that was it. Hopefully you brothers learned a lesson in keeping your food. And here we have a beautiful bowl of sausage and chicken gumbo on a bed of leftover couscous. Yahweh Shem Yahushai Barakatham to all you brothers out there, and to Wab Awakal.